It's a great pleasure good morning rather, to be with you this morning. I am getting used to my new equipment here, and I hope you are all well and you all had a great Thanksgiving weekend. I'm very happy to join you. My name is Akwesi Opong, and for the first time, we are broadcasting live on our Spreaker app. And I'm very excited because we've always pre-recorded our podcast, but today we are coming to you live as we speak. So all our listeners will be able to participate, ask questions, chat if they incline to do so. And again, this is Couples Date Night. Our ministry and work is called Enjoy Life with Your Spouse. And I am very excited to come to you again with another episode of our podcast. We took some time off to upgrade and make some changes to our recording equipment, and also spend some time with our family, which I spoke a little bit about in detail on my previous episode. So today, as we continue to enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday weekend in North America, we want to focus on something very interesting. I think the last time we spoke about gratitude, being thankful for our relationships. And today, what I want to focus on is some lessons from people who've been married for a decent amount of time. And we're talking about couples who've been married for 25 years or above, and some of the lessons that they have gathered, which we can also glean or learn from. So that's what I'm going to focus on today to talk about. I hope that this will give us something for us to learn about. Now, I want to make you aware that today's resource comes from brides.com. It's a post that was on brides.com that was very intriguing, learning about what has provided a very wonderful and loving environment for couples for over 25 years. So the first couple I like to talk about are Donna and Bert in California. So this couple been married for 25 years, and this is what they said: do not fight like high schoolers. Don't play games or give the silent treatment. Argue over the same things over and over. You know, as we all know, in relationships, those of you who have been at it for no matter the length of time, that it becomes very common that you fight over the same things over and over and over. And the advice we're getting here is that we should mature in our approach to conflict. You know, if you're having conflict over the same thing over and over, it's an opportunity for you to sit down and say, how do we address this issue? How do we find a way of managing our conflict and our emotions so that we're growing? You know, and I like how this couple used the term high schoolers, you know, because high schoolers sometimes might act a little bit immature in their approach to conflict. You know, they just respond to their emotions by, you know, getting to the other person because they got to them. And that doesn't create a very great environment when you're in a relationship. So we have to grow, we have to mature when it comes to this, you know. If you have children, you want to set a good example. And this is one thing that in our work with couples at our church or in our community, my wife and I highlight on this more, that if it's not for anybody else, know that the way you marry is setting up the next generation, and your children are going to watch how you are doing it. So if you're fighting like high schoolers or not managing your emotions when it comes to conflict, you are definitely not giving a gift to your children. So that's one thing that we have to have in mind. And the thought of that alone should really put you in a place of knowing that you have to learn to grow and mature when it comes to how you handle conflict. And I think if you go through our podcast, which can be found at www.enjoylifewithyourspouse.com or .org, enjoylifewithyourspouse.com, you find resources on conflict, and we've spoken quite extensively on that as to how to manage it, how to be able to resolve conflict quickly, and the negative impacts of conflict if it keeps happening in a relationship. So we'll encourage that you go and participate in that. And I also like to let you all know we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook and YouTube. So most of our resources on our podcast also appear on these channels as well. So we'll strongly encourage that you participate or join so that you can catch any episodes that we put out there. So let us move on. So one of the advice that we got from this couple is that, we should not basically fight over the small stuff, because that there are things when it comes to even things around the house, things that have to be done, know that somebody has to do it, know that it's your responsibility. And another thing I also want to add to this when it comes to the fighting over little things is that in when we talk about being matured in our relationship, is knowing that you will not, marriage is not about 50-50 and I've done mine, you do yours. There are some days you will do 99% or even 100%, and your spouse will do nothing, and that is okay, because this is not an issue of somebody doing more or less. Because I always refer to the scriptural reference for this, that, when you were yet sinners, Christ died for you. You did nothing to save the situation, but he died. He voluntarily died for you. So knowing that when it comes to your relationship, sometimes you have to be matured. And when I say you, it doesn't matter. It could be the husband or the wife has to be matured in taking the stand to say, I'm going to make sure that I'm not approaching this as a high schooler. I'm going to be matured in my approach to make sure that our relationship is thriving. So let's move on. The next couple is Amy and Jeffrey from Pennsylvania. So they've been married for about 26 years, and they say expect and accept change. No one remains stagnant for 25 years, nor should they. You may sometimes feel like you are with someone different than the person you married long ago. So this is very, very good advice. Know that the only constant thing in your relationship is going to be change. And if you have that mindset of knowing and expecting that things are going to change, things will not remain the same, it puts you in that framework and in that realm of making sure that you are prepared for it. You are not surprised by it when it happens, So growth is how we get through this. So growing is, setting yourself up to learn. And I'm sure those of you listening to this podcast, you're doing a form of that by learning things that will help you grow in your relationship, by looking for resources, by working on yourself as an individual, and also working on your marriage. I've often said that there are three components in every relationship. There's you, your spouse, and there's the marriage itself as an institution that needs help. That has to be developed and grown over time. So have in mind all these components when it comes to your relationship. So one advice that this couple gave us is that you and your spouse will and should share many things, but it's important to keep your independence and not lose yourself in each other. This is critical. Not every hobby or friend has to be mutual. In fact, a marriage stays fresh when partners have separate interests and separate relationships. So it's wonderful. I have two good friends that every other week we jump on a call, we jump on a Zoom call, and we just chat, we share ideas, we encourage each other, we check in with each other, and it's one of the highlights of my month when we get to meet two times, because they will. Two of them don't live very close to where I live, so the best way we can connect is through Zoom. But I also have to say that I do spend time with other people, to friends in my community, who acquaintances that I've known for quite some time, and it's very, very important that we don't lose that friendships, or those connections that we had before getting into marriage. So I guess the ladies can also meet with their girlfriends and go out for coffee or breakfast or whatever they can do to keep those bonds going, or whatever intrigues you. A few weeks ago, I went for a bike ride in Washington D.C. I mean, not in the city, but on the paths and the parks around Washington D.C. And I had such a great time being out there, just enjoying nature and discovering places and all of that. And one of the key things that happen when you do things to connect with yourself is you bring a lot of stories to your relationship. You come home with stories. You come home say, you won't believe where I went today, or what I did, or who I saw. It's always very refreshing when you do that. So let's take this advice from people who really know, and make sure that we are growing, we are doing things for ourselves as individuals and outside our relationship, and also making sure that we are growing. It's helping us to grow. And when I say doing outside your relationship, it doesn't mean doing things that negatively impact your relationship, but in terms of your hobbies or your interests or things that refreshes you. So moving right along, the next couple, they talk about staying flexible in your relationship. So what does staying flexible mean? So they've been married for 38 years, and they say that, roll with the punches. As time passes, years have shown that you have to keep reinventing your relationship to withstand what has been thrown at you. Never consider yourself to be too old to switch up roles within the marriage. If you change things up, you'll have a fresh window into your relationship with your partner. So again, be adventurous, do things differently, come up with great ideas of doing things. I've often said some of the most simplest things you can do to be flexible and to be spontaneous in your relationship is when, one evening you just say to your spouse, we're going to eat anyway. Let's take our dinner to a local park, sit at the park and eat, have a picnic spontaneously, And simple things like this have the ability to help you reinvent your relationship. And I know that for a lot of us, an idea like that can be very easily and quickly dismissed, because that idea comes and you say, I'm now going to, run out the kids or pack up dinner and, get in the car. I just don't want to do that. But I promise you, if you get yourself over that and you're able to get yourself to a location to do this, it's going to really create a great environment for you, your spouse, your family to really enjoy. And you might as well even make it as something you do every couple of days, considering the weather is conducive to do that. So get over the challenge, the difficulty, whatever stumbling blocks will get in your way of doing that. If it were easy, everybody will do it. But if we work a little bit hard in getting over the difficulty, we'll be able to do things that allows us to be spontaneous and also grow. So the advice from this couple is that always listen to what's important to your spouse, and if you disagree, always try to compromise. So being flexible, with ideas. So if your husband or wife say, let's go out, do something, think of how you can compromise. Even if you can go to a park that is far away, you can pick one that is close by. And it's all in your ability. I think we had a podcast not too long ago on adaptability, how to be adaptable in your relationship, being able to move as it goes, and being able to adjust to your emotions and your expectations and your and the things that matter to you to be able to grow. So moving along, we are going to look at Paul and Diane. They say, show your love. They've been married for 53 years. It's way longer than some of us have even been alive, Can you imagine? 53 years of marriage. They definitely have something we need to learn. So they say it's important to do little things on a regular basis to show your love. The little things. This is why I get my wife her favorite coffee every morning. It keeps her happy. What are the little things, There's a Ghanaian musical artist called Efia, and she wrote a song called Little Things, and I like it so much, the little things that we do to keep our relationship going, whether it's that you go, every time you go shopping, you buy something little for your spouse, or when you're on a trip, you always bring her a gift, or even when it comes to day-to-day, what do you do on a day-to-day, making sure that I can quickly think of one, but you bring food to your spouse, or you pick up a chore to help your wife because, she's attending to the children, and all the little things that we can do. So sit down and think of some little things that you can do. You don't have to fly a billboard in an airplane to express how much you love your spouse, but those little things that we can do on a day-to-day basis to express love, and it's not you saying it, but you showing it. So always think of the little things. So for me, what is I like is when you do the little things when your spouse doesn't expect them. So let's say you're going on a date night and you manage to buy flowers and keep it in the car. The date night itself is a great opportunity for both of you to connect. But what you are doing on top of that is bringing that flower along. One thing that I have done is we're going on a date night, and I brought this little booklet by Dr. Gary Chapman, and it's called Couples Talk. So I put it somewhere in my jacket, and when we got there, after we finished eating and we're sitting down, I brought it out, and it's a collection of questions that you ask your spouse, and I'll strongly recommend, you can find it on Amazon. So it has a question like, tell me a day when you were in middle school and you really didn't want to go to school. What happened? And it takes your spouse some time to think about it and see if there was a day like that. And it's really helped us a lot to tell stories that, we've never even thought about sharing, So think of the little things that you can do. Think of the little things that you can also do to help your spouse. It's very key in helping you grow. So moving right along, our next couple is Giudo and Regina. They say, don't keep score. Keeping score is something that we do because, human beings are very selfish in our approach to things in life. Do not keep score. Don't say, I cleaned the house today, I did this today, so you have to be given a trophy. And I think we men keep score more than women. A woman could go to work, come back, take care of the children, cook, clean, and a man walks in and takes the garbage out, and he wants us to applaud for him. We have to stop keeping score. Know that everything that we do, we're doing it to help grow our relationship. I said earlier on that it's not about the percentages. It's not about the 100% or 50% of this, but we are all in. We've put all in to making sure that the relationship will thrive. So let's not keep score. So our advice from this couple is that don't keep score or rate who does more. A good partner knows when to step in, when to take over, and when to encourage you to keep moving forward. Not get caught up in keeping tabs. I can remember during difficult phases of our lives being very gracious of the fact that I did more with the kids. I could have been easy to mention who had to stay home from work with a sick kid, who had to get up with crying babies, or who had to find childcare so that we could go out on a weekend. But doing so doesn't get you anywhere. So let's take this advice from this wonderful couple that let's not keep score, keep tabs, or see who is doing more or who is bringing more to the table. We are in together. This is where we're really in together. So let's when you realize that my spouse needs help, just jump in. That's what real love means, because all the other things are things that are superficial. Money could buy it, but that's when we're really paying the price. That's when we're really giving of ourselves. So let us make sure that we are stepping in to really show how much we love. So let's keep going. Keep laughing. I like this one. This is from Charlotte and Daniel from California, and they say, keep laughing. They've been married for 31 years, and they have good reason to say that. Always remember that what attracted you to your spouse in the first place, which is could be your husband or wife, and in their case, it was their humor. When they first met, humor really helped them to kick off their relationship. And when we say humor here, is passing a comment that will let your spouse laugh, or showing them, a meme, something you found online that is very funny. I know this week I did send some to my wife that was really funny. It was something that she finds very funny, and I found one on, I believe it was on TikTok, and I sent it to her, and it really made her day, So always look for things to do. Now you can go to a comedy show, you can watch comedy online, but I think the key thing here is the things that you do to bring laughter to your relationship. There's so many things you can think of, but your spouse more than anyone else. So think of the things that will make each one laugh, will let you really get your giggles going. So think of it. This is work that you have to do to get to it. It doesn't come easy all the time. Always think of things that can bring laughter in your relationship. Maintain a steady stream of fresh jokes to keep your spouse entertained. I worry what will happen when I run out of them. That's what this couple is saying. So, and now with the internet and social media, there is so much you can find out there. You can even type couples jokes and find so many resources online, and sit down one evening or during a date night and just go through these stories. And one that we love is Reader's Digest. My dad was a huge Reader's Digest subscriber, and I guess that's something I picked up. So I do subscribe to Reader's Digest, even though I must admit I don't read every edition that I get. But what I like about it is going to that section where it has those jokes. They're very, very funny jokes, and I often love to read them. Okay, so at this point, we're going to take a short, quick break, and we will be right back. Hello, hello, hello. This is Kwesi Opong, and we are coming to you live today, Couples Date Night, and we are very excited that you've made some time to join us. And what we're doing today is that we are talking about stories of couples who've been married for at least 25 years, and some of the things we can learn from them, some of the things they've done to keep their relationship going and thriving and enjoying the best of it. And as we go down the list, I'm sure there are great ideas that we can gather. You know, this is one great thing about episodes like this. You know, you don't have to go through 25 years of marriage painfully unhappy to learn these things, because some people have already been there. And if we open up our minds and our hearts to learn and to gather resources, we will be able to painlessly, if I may use that word, go through our relationship and not make those mistakes they made. So this is a treat that we've been given to really learn from those who've been at it and what has helped them to get through it. So the next couple we're going to learn from is Peter and Laura. They're from New Jersey, and they've been married for 32 years. And according to their messages, don't sweat the small stuff. You know, remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So pace yourself and pick up your battles carefully. It's easy to argue about the silliest of things, but does it really matter how the dishwasher gets loaded or the car gets packed before going on a road trip? You know, those are things that we have emotional attachment to them. You know, the way you make your pancake or the way you put food in a dish. We have some kind of emotional attachment to them. But does it really matter? Should that start a quarrel or a conflict in your relationship? You know, you can come to realize, you come to realize it's crazy to ruin an evening together or a trip away over stuff like this. And don't be afraid to use, silly, lovely pet names you have for each other in public. It makes people wonder what you've been up to. So that's an extra tip they gave us over there. But the key thing here is that let us not sweat over the small stuff. One of the things that I've done over the years is, well, not over the years, but there have been times where I've not done this perfectly, and it's good to admit. But there are times where I can tell a conflict is brewing. I look at whatever has happened. It's a small thing that happened, and I tell myself, it's okay. Just let it go. Just move on. And that is where emotional intelligence comes in. That's where you need to get in yourself and say, I'm an adult. I'm a husband, I'm a wife, you know, I have this great person in my life. I will not let this small thing ruin this wonderful experience. You know, you have to give yourself that talk. And this is one of those areas where you have to give yourself the talk before the event happens. Because most too often, in the midst of the event, we cannot logically process how to what to say and how to say it. So it's important that you sit down now and say, all right, when an event comes where, you know, a small thing happens, we're in the midst of going to have fun or enjoy ourselves, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to say, this is what I will not do. And you prepare yourself ahead of time to make sure that when it happens, you know exactly what to say or not do. So the advice from this couple is that keep your own interest. You will stay happier longer if you still take time to do things you love to do. And I think we've touched on this. So I think they're going back to this very issue. That tells us this is very important. You know, whatever it is that makes you happy, having your own interest will give you a new perspective and things to talk about with your spouse. So it's being drummed into our ears and our hearts again that let us make sure that we take care of ourselves. But the key message here is that do not sweat over the little things. I think that if we have our own interest and if we take care of ourselves, we have our own connections and we bring that to our relationship, it ensures that we will not sweat over the small stuff. So let's take the advice at heart. Let us know that it's very important, and it will help us to go through our relationship when the opportunity comes to do that. So moving on, keeping it a partnership. Merrill and Ray from Pennsylvania. We married 64 years. Congratulations to them. So they say they met when they were in high school. I can imagine being married for 64 years. They probably met when they were toddlers. That's just a joke, by the way. And except for the 6 months when one of them decided she needed to see other guys. They've been together. Well, I believe it was the lady who said she wanted to see other guys in their story. There are several things they require for a good marriage, including having mutual respect for each other and viewing your marriage as a partnership. And again, it goes back to the point about keeping score. You're looking at your marriage as a partnership. We are a married couple. We are partners, and we're sharing our life together. When you do, I see partnership as when you go to get dessert, you get some for your spouse. If you go to pick up a gift, you get some for your spouse. You think about the well-being of your spouse at all times, and in making decisions, you think of how that will impact your spouse. In planning things, you think, how will that impact your spouse? Even, in our everyday life, if you have to go on a business trip, you ask yourself that, I'm going to go away for a week for work. How will that impact my spouse? What are some of the things that I can put in place to make sure that he or she is comfortable? And I know there are some wonderful women out there who go out of their way to even cook meals to make sure that their spouses are okay. I remember years ago, my wife went on a trip to Ghana to visit her dad, who had been sick for some time, and before she left, she made sure that some dishes were in the refrigerator for me to eat for at least a week, and that was really thoughtful of her to do that. And that's what I call partnership, because you're thinking about the other person. So the advice from this couple is that always appreciate each other's talents, compliment each other's efforts, and make sure that you are making them feel special. And that's part of the partnership, complimenting the little things, acknowledging that your wife got their hair done or your husband got a haircut. Acknowledge those things and pay attention to those things. And always don't forget to say, I love you. It goes a long way. There was a research finding that my wife and I came across that said that couples that kiss every day, it could be a small peck, it could be a kiss on the lips, but they found out that men who kiss their wives every day, they lived 4 to 7 years longer as a result of that. Just kissing every day. I think that those of you who are in healthcare will say it lowers their blood pressure. I guess maybe that's what, I don't know. But the point here is that such a simple thing could go a long way. So as we develop our partnership in our relationship, let's think of the things that we can do to develop a partnership. And it's not this is not a business deal or an agreement. This is a covenant. It is a covenant. So as we move along, we go to Deron and Athena. Finish the fight. I like this. Let's see what they say. It may sound cliche, but never go to bed mad at each other. End a fight then and there, so nothing gets carried over to the next day. And don't lose sight that every couple fights. It's about how well you move on and process things that matter. If you know a couple who doesn't fight, call me. I want to meet them. This a story by the president of Focus on the Family, Dale. Daly, Jim Daly, sorry. He talked about a story where he went for a conference, a married conference, and a lady came up to her and said, "Well, my wife and I, we never fight. Everything goes on well." And he said, "Let me guess, you both sleep in separate rooms." And guess what? It was the truth. They both live separate lives. And how do you marry living separate lives in a home? I have my toothpaste, you have yours. I sleep in a different room. You do have a different room. I have cook my own food. You do. That is not a relationship. That I don't even know what to call that. It's not even roommates, because roommates share certain things together. So. All couples go through some form of conflict, but it is how you manage the conflict. It's how you deal with the conflict. It's how the things you put in place to make sure that the conflict does not impact your relationship. That is what is key here. So one of the things I say all the time is that, and again, this couple talks about, if you realize a conflict is not totally resolved, call a meeting, call your spouse and say, "Can we talk about what happened last night?" Even after you've said, "I'm sorry," and it's been resolved, if you still feel there's aspects of it that needs to be talked about, call a meeting and sit down and talk about it. Rehash the events and get into it and make sure that it is totally resolved. Because the sad thing is that when it's not fully resolved and the emotions are harbored and it happens again, something happens, it's not resolved, then contempt begins to build in, and contempt is not a good thing. And what sadly happens is that it gets to a point where you see your spouse and you get upset and you don't even know what it is, because there are all these unresolved emotional issues that have been building up for a very long time. So the advice from this couple again also is that no white lies. The truth always comes out, and without trust, you really don't have much. You need to work on building the trust from day one and never lose sight of how precious it is to a marriage. Now, there's a comedy movie my wife and I watched. I cannot recollect the title. I think it was probably on Netflix, but there was a scene in it where this 60-something-year-old man traveled to Las Vegas with some bunch of friends, and before he left, this is something we don't recommend that you do on this podcast. It will not bring happiness to your relationship, but he wanted to go out there and I guess, to keep it simple, see what is out there, to meet other people, talk with other people. So whilst he was out there, he met a young lady, started talking to the lady, and as the story goes, the lady started showing interest, and it looks like it was going beyond just talking. And at some point, this man stopped and said he cannot move forward. And the young lady said, "Why don't you want to go forward? Your wife is not here, it's just us." And I like what the man said. He said, everything that I enjoy when I'm outside my home, I want to go home and tell my wife how much I enjoyed it. And with where this is going, I don't think I can tell her, so I'm not going to do it. I think that was great how this man put it, and how he saw this whole scenario that, I talk about everything with my wife, and every great thing that happens, I want to come home and tell her. So if I go ahead with this, I know I can tell her, and it's going to bug me for a long time, maybe for the rest of my life, and I can live with that. And I think we all have to have some of this, or not what he did, but that attitude. I mean, the attitude he had that, I will make sure that everything that I do, it's something I can go back and tell my spouse. And that will definitely So we don't harbor lies. We are very truthful. We're trustworthy. We are vulnerable when we have to, and that will help grow and develop our relationship. So it's important that we focus on these things to really help us grow and develop and make sure that our relationships are thriving. So let us move on. So we have another couple here called Amy and Harry from New York. And this is their story. They say, support each other's interests. What interest do you have? What does your spouse have? Is your spouse taking up a hobby? Does she want to go back to school? Does she wants to get a PhD or learn a new language or connect with some friends she hasn't seen in a long time? What are you doing to help them develop their interest? So having separate interests is a key to a happy marriage. One of you could be into sports, one could be into dancing, and it doesn't matter what it is. The question is, what are you doing to make sure your spouse can develop and grow their interest? It could be a simple thing as, gifting them a subscription to a Zumba class or helping them with equipment to do their watercolor painting, but it's important that we support our spouse in order to grow whatever interest they have, Finding someone who can enjoy the simple things in life is very, very important, So ask yourself that the interest my wife or my husband has, how can I support them as they thrive? And you can see that if your spouse does something they're interested in, they glow, they beam, they're full of energy and joy, and it brings so much connection to your relationship as well. So let's follow the advice of this wonderful couple and make sure that we are doing things that will help us not only grow in our relationship, but have a deeper and more purposeful connection as well. So moving on, Mike and Kathy from Virginia, they've been married for 36 years, and they say remain friends. And this is something we had a podcast on, and again, we do have a resource on our website, enjoylifewithyouspouse.org, on friendship in marriage. So this is one that we would strongly recommend. It's a free resource. You can go. Actually, it's not a free resource. It's other information that is free. But the friendship in marriage is a small, tiny booklet you can have for very few dollars, probably less than $5, something like that. If you're interested, you can go and purchase that document. But let's see what this wonderful couple has to say. Always put your spouse first, even before your children. I like this, and I say this, and this couple say this because your children, just like you, will grow and leave. As the Bible says, a man will leave his father's house. There will be a leaving one day, and your marriage has to endure your children in terms of your children growing and leaving. So it's very important that you put your spouse first in all that you do. And this couple has been married for 36 years, and I'm not surprised why. Remaining as friends is good. We always agree if our marriage was sound, our children will learn what it means to show devotion and commitment to each another person. We have remained best friends over the last 3 decades. So friendship. And the question you ask is, well, I love her, I love him. What about friends? We'll do things for our friends that we wouldn't do for anybody else. You could be very tired, and your friend will call you and say, "Can you drop me off at the airport?" And you say, "This is my friend." You can't even wait to get out of the house to go. In the same way, when your spouse calls on you to do something, you do it because this is your first friend. You're putting your spouse first. You get home, you're so tired, your spouse is hungry. So, let me pick up some dinner for you. Or let me get into the kitchen to cook, and this could be the husband or wife. Anyone could get into the kitchen to cook, to a way of being a friend. So friendship is key. And the resources that I refer to on our website will really give you some ideas as to things you can do to develop friendship in your relationship. So from this couple, it says, for marriage to be successful, both husband and wife need to view themselves as partners. We're no longer just yourself. You have another half constantly to consider in your relationship. So build friendship in your marriage. It is very, very important to do so, and will help you thrive. So I think that we have covered a lot. That a lot of great ideas that will help us to thrive in our relationship. So knowing that these couples have really thrive in their relationship, I am so thankful to God. Next year, I believe my wife will be able to join this wonderful exclusive club of people who've been married at least 25 years. Next year is our 25th wedding anniversary, and I'm looking forward to it. So next year, I'll come and also give you my advice when we are able to join this exclusive club. And I'm really delighted and looking forward to it. So we hope that today you've been able to gather some great ideas that will help you to think of your own relationship, the little things that you can do, the fun you can have, the playfulness, the friendship, not sweating the small stuff, going above and beyond yourself to do things for your spouse and not keeping the score. All these things will help you to thrive in your relationship. Thanks for joining us. Come back here again on our website to review our relationship, and look out for events that we might be having online and also in our community. God bless you all, and make sure that you are enjoying life with your spouse.